It was useful at a certain time and place. It really, Palestinians, Syria, really they are Arab. Really they are. Yeah, there are plenty of. I'm sorry, I don't have any.
Dr. Pipes, is Palestinian nationalism in the end just anti-Zionism?
Interesting question. Palestinian, the short answer is yes. The very word Palestinian, as I noted before, began as a Zionist word, and then the Zionists left it, and the anti-Zionists picked it up. And over again, you find that Zionist names, institutions, ideas are picked up by anti-Zionists. For example, the leader of the Zionist movement for several decades was a man called Chaim Weizmann. He was an eminent scientist, and he was based in London. And he traveled through Europe, even to the United States, to further the Zionist cause. Very unusual, indeed unique, unprecedented. But along a few decades later comes Yasser Arafat, who does the same thing on behalf of the Palestinians, travels the world to promote the Palestinian cause. In Palestine, mandatory Palestine, there was something called the Yishuv, which was the Zionist self-government. It wasn't official, it wasn't a state, but it had an army and it had an economic arm and it had a security agency, and basically it had the functions of a government. And so when Israel became a state in 1948, the Yishuv was transformed easily into the function of state apparatus. Well, you won't find that anywhere in the world except right next door. Today, there's a Palestinian Authority. It is not a state, but has the functions of a state. Or you take something like the Jewish National Fund, which bought land on behalf of the Zionist movement. There's now a Palestinian National Fund that echoes it. And even more importantly, Zionism, the very word, is about love of Zion. What is that? That's love of Jerusalem. Focus on Jerusalem as the heart and soul of Jewish religion, the geographically central. Well, what do you know? There's now a Muslim Zion. Now, enormous emphasis on Jerusalem, claims that Jerusalem is a central city for Islam, and so forth and so on. So, to give one example, in the year 2000, when there were negotiations between the Israelis and the Palestinians, there were negotiations over the Temple Mount, the most holy site of Jews, and a holy place for Muslims as well. What was so striking is that this was a religious topic, not a strategic one, not an economic one, but a religious one. And Ehud Barak, the Prime Minister of Israel, just did it on his own, consulted no one. There was a lot of unhappiness among Jews around the world who thought they should have a say, that certain parts of Jerusalem would be handed over to the Palestinians. And in contrast, Yasser Arafat traveled extensively to get opinions of other Muslims about whether you should accept this Jerusalem. So what you have then, and what I see often, is that Muslims have now developed in more Zionist passion than Jews have.
That's
so again and again and again, you see that the Palestinian movement is what Germans call the doppelganger, the kind of evil twin of the Zionist movement, copying it in Yemen.
Now, Dr. Pipes, we're going to go to the phone lines in a second, but I want to ask you personally, you're a leading scholar on this, you've dedicated your life to this, you're also dedicated your life to telling the truth about history, and this is not a popular truth. How did you feel with Gingrich coming out and actually bravely saying something that is not permitted in the boundaries of even academic discourse, I don't think? Was this inspiring to you?
Let me first note that I am actually a historian. I have a PhD in medieval history. Well, it's always refreshing when a leading politician makes a statement like this that cuts through and creates a furor. I imagine he had no idea it would do so. I myself have been in that situation where a throwaway remark becomes the center of a little storm. But he has confirmed it, and I think it's excellent. Now, the one criticism that has some interest, I mean, historically it's clear cut that he's right. But the more interesting criticism of him is that this is not operationally useful. that by talking the truth like this, were he to become president, he makes it more difficult to have Palestinian-Israeli negotiations. To which I would say, one, there are no Palestinian-Israeli negotiations underway, and two, even more importantly, the Palestinian-Israeli negotiations that have been going on in a substantive way since 1993 have been counterproductive. The situation was better in 1993 before the Oslo Accords than today. These are negotiations that are premature and falsely premised, so that his remarks might make such negotiations less.
Dr. Pipes, do you think that it was just the moment, it was just in the moment, or do you think that Gingrich was calculating something by coming out saying something like this in terms of his campaign, maybe trying to get certain support? Is there anything behind this? Is there anything behind the timing?
From my experience, I would say that this is one of those things that simply takes off. You can never predict it, and I would not. I mean, he's a font of ideas, a whole range of subjects. He's very much an intellectual who loves to look at situations and provide political analyses of them. And that's what he's done here. I would suspect, if you looked at the record, he said this a dozen times before, and that I would suspect this came as a complete surprise to him, that an off-the-cuff remark of this sort, throwaway remark of this sort, has engendered such a debate. But certainly that's what happened to me on a number of occasions. I'd make some throwaway remark, and then for the next 2 weeks I had this firestorm around me, and I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, so sometimes it's unpredictable when a comment will take off. We're going to go to our phone lines. We have Stephen from Toronto, Canada. Are you there?
Yes, I am, Jamie.
Stephen, you have a question for Dr. Pipes?
Yes, Dr. Pipes, knowing the Palestinians as you do, how would you regard this remark by Newt Gingrich in terms of establishing a state? Do you think they're thinking, oh my God, we should grab the best deal now from Obama, who's very sympathetic to us? Or should we just keep going on and dragging things out, hopefully to destroy Israel?
I guess you're implying on that question that this statement might make a big impact, right?
Exactly, on negotiations, on the way they view things. Like, it's not going to be business as usual if Gingrich gets in.
Well, good question. I don't think the statement itself makes that much difference. In other words, one can agree that I'm agreeing that Palestinians are invented people, and saying at the same time there is a Palestinian nationalism. I recognize it. You know, its origins 90 years ago are not terribly important today. It is there. Fair enough. But I think what you're getting at is something larger, not this specific statement, but the fact that a Republican, and it really doesn't matter which one, other than Ron Paul, who I don't consider Republican, that any Republican president will have a fundamentally different attitude towards Israel and the Arab-Israeli conflict, one that is far more warm towards Israel and cooler towards negotiations. And so then the question is, might the Palestinians rush and try and do something before that happens? No, I don't see it. From my point of view, as someone who's unenthusiastic about Palestinian-Israeli negotiations, who sees these as counterproductive, I'm quite pleased with Obama. Because what Obama did is make a series of mistakes which prompted the Palestinians to walk away in a huff from the negotiations, demanding more and more, being more and more unrealistic, and the whole thing has collapsed, which from my point of view is a good idea. I want to see resolution of the Arab-Israeli conflict and then go to the negotiating table. In other words, I see the goal, our goal, American goal, is having our ally, Israel, win. I want to win this war. I want our ally to win this war. I don't want to see compromise and conciliation and mediation as the way forward. I think we want to win. That's what the Palestinians want. They want to win. But we and the Israelis have decided there's no such thing as victory. There's just kind of, making painful concessions. No. Our side should win. Palestinians should come to accept an Israel, Jewish state of Israel. No ifs or buts. And then once they've done that, then you go to the negotiating table and figure out where the boundaries are and what the rights are here and water rights and Jerusalem and refugees and so forth. So I don't want negotiations, and I'm rather pleased with Obama because he's done such a terrible job of achieving his goals that he's actually achieved mine.
So we just have 2 or 3 minutes left. We're going to go to Mark from Atlanta, Georgia. Mark, are you there?
Yes, I am, Jamie.
Mark, you have a question for Dr. Pipes.
I do, Dr. Pipes, and let me begin by just saying that I've enjoyed your scholarship over the years, and I've learned a tremendous amount about the region by reading your articles. Really excellent. My question has to do with the fact that you have written and have actually quite clearly demonstrated that this Palestinian nationalism originated out of political calculus. And I'm wondering, I was somewhat disappointed in that debate when Newt responded to the obvious disdain of Diane Sawyer, that he didn't come back at her with, attacking the media. But I'm wondering, in your view, what role has the U.S. media played in promulgating and promoting this big lie that there is such a thing as Palestinian nationalism that goes back millennia?
The media have certainly been part of it, so has the Academy, and to a certain extent so has the government. The main sources of information on this topic, or most any topic, have not been accurately portraying it. The good news is that there now is alternative media, such as the very one that we're on right now, which is looking in a much more intelligent way at complex problems such as this one. So there's an opening, and many, like ourselves, are taking advantage of it.
Dr. Pipes, our time has come to an end. It was an honor and a privilege to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Jamie.
And thank you for all that you do, Dr. Pipes. And I hope you'll be coming back on the show soon. Thank you.
I look forward to it.
Okay, take care.
Goodbye.